Tacopina, what was it like seeing Rocky's raw emotion as he tripped over, fell over Rihanna? What was that like?
I didn't realize how athletic he was. He, in a single leap, went over the jury box. But I mean, the spectator row. Look, that was raw emotion. That was happiness. You know, there was a moment where, before we heard the words from the clerk, you know, he didn't know if he was going to be spending the next 2 decades in jail or going home. And so when you hear those words, obviously, you know, I know how he was feeling. We've been in communication the last few hours. It's a lot on the line. He has 2 little children. He's got a beautiful wife and he's got a family. And so that was raw emotion. You guys got to see that. And, you know, it was, even for us, I mean, it was insane. So it was just very, very satisfying.
When you and I spoke earlier, you said there was a lot on the line, you know, when it comes to this verdict. Now that everything's over with, what's next for ASAP? What's next for the whole family now that they can get past this?
Well, they promised their 3rd kid would be named ASAP Joe. So that's as far as I know. You know, what's next? They're going to move on. I mean, they have a lot of great things professionally to do. You know, Rocky's really at the height of his career. He's working with Gucci, he's working with Puma, he's got a lot of things going. Obviously, Rihanna is on top of the world, and they have 2 beautiful children, and they have a family. And we saw them come together. And, you know, I took offense to the prosecutor, Lewin, saying that they manufactured some sort of appearance of a family in his summation. But I think the jury obviously took offense to that, too. They're a family, and they were a family, and that's why she was here to support him, and that's why his kids came. He just don't want he's going to see them again. And if this didn't go well for him, not that I thought it wasn't going to, you know, so it was just beautiful to see. You know, this is what we do. You know, we work hard, and these trials are hard, and they tax us, and we don't sleep. But at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. That's why I went to law school. That's why he went to law school. So you see this, it makes it all worthwhile.
And we saw his reaction. I mean, talk to you about this demeanor, like leading up to when that verdict came in.
He was way calmer than I was. I mean, he was calming me down. So, like, I was more anxious and nervous. I mean, but that's always the way it is for me. You know, when something so important is about to happen. So he was really calm, cool, and collected. At the end, obviously, when that jury started piling in, and you know, you can't read anyone's faces. You know, there was a tension that he said, "I can't breathe," and I said, "Neither can I." So that makes 2 of us. And you know, Chad and I've been together 22 years. I know how he feels. So it's just a moment of incredible angst. But when you have something like this happen, it makes it all worthwhile. It's great. It's great.
What do you think the key evidence was that made the jury make its decision?
The key evidence. The fact that there was no evidence. I think that was the key evidence. I think relying on Terrell Efron for any matter of importance in your life, a decision on a matter of importance in your life would not be possible for anyone with a brain. And the jury clearly understood that argument. And then when I pointed out to the jury that I got Detective Flores, their lead detective, to say without Efron's testimony, there's no evidence of a shooting, one way or another, that could be or that cannot be. That really was it. You know, I left 10 questions for John Lewin to answer. He didn't even look at one. And those were 10 important questions, including number 9, which was, without Efron's testimony, as the prosecutor asked, Detective Flores acknowledged that there's not enough evidence in this case to say that definitively there was a shooting. So I was surprised he didn't touch those questions, but I knew he couldn't answer them, and that's why I put him up there. So anyway, I think that's why the jury came. And look, it was a quick verdict, right? I mean, they started almost 10 o'clock. They had a lunch break. They watched the video, and they had a verdict. So, you know, for a basically 4-week trial, when I heard there was a verdict, I felt pretty good. Not so overly confident, because you just never know, but I felt pretty good.
You talked about.
I'm not leaving. I'll answer everyone's questions, so don't worry. Yeah.
You talked about your client's raw emotion. We saw it. He dove.
Yeah, that was crazy.
To hug his family. He was not the only one that had a thunderous reaction. Talk about the reaction that we've seen from the public, supporters of his.
Yeah. Look, I've been here for over a month, and just me walking around, I'm not him, right? People were just wishing me luck for him. I mean, he's loved. Very well loved in this city, and I think, you know, he's got a lot of fans. And that doesn't happen because he's a singer. It happens because who he is as a person. A lot of what this jury didn't hear was who A$AP really is, who A$AP Rocky is as a person. He does incredible charity work. He gives back to the community. He's become a dear friend of mine, more than a client. And that's why cases like this are really difficult for me, because there's so much on the line. I mean, I care about every client I represent, to the point where they become family. This was at a different level. And so I was just not prepared for, I would not accept any other verdict than this one.
Why was this one so different? You said you hear about every client, but they were like family. What was so special about
He and I have bonded over the last 3 years in a way that, you know, and he's just a different person. I attribute that to him, the way he conducts himself, the way he's so appreciative with us, the way he is with his, I mean, I spent time with him and Rihanna at their house, and they're just, you know, as humble and as can be for people with that level of success. They are really sweet, good people. And I would have been really, really hurting if this didn't go the right way. But, you know, thank God that jury, we had a great jury.
Speaking of family, do you think the jury seeing ASAP with Rihanna as a family man and their children helped his defense?
No, I don't think that helped his defense at all. Look, everyone knows he had Rihanna. Everyone knows he has 2 kids, sorry. I mean, I don't think the jury was like, all right, we think he's guilty, but look at the kids. I mean, so, you know, I'm glad the prosecutors focused on that in their summation. We didn't. The evidence in this case was deficient. I think that they need to be going after Terrell Efron. As I've always said, he was an extortionist. He was someone who we showed committed extortion. The tape that one of you all said was really good for the prosecution that we brought in turned out not to be so good for the prosecution. It was him repeating the same story that he'd repeated since day one. But what it had on there was, 1, him committing perjury to this jury, and 2, him acknowledging he wanted $30 million and he disappeared to an island. That's called extortion.
Did we see any lawsuit, you know, courts rally for these?
For what? To get his $697 he has in his bank account? Even though, if you look on Instagram, he's a billionaire. But, you know, I'm not suing Relly. I have other things in life to do. You know, he sued us. And after today, I don't think that's going so well. So, but anyway, look, I'm just happy the jury came to the right conclusion.
All right, we'll have more from Los Angeles in the aftermath of the not guilty verdict. ASAP Rocky going home tonight. All right, take a look. We can't hear it, but take a look. There is ASAP Rocky leaving the courthouse after a not guilty verdict. Not guilty. You see all the folks there. You see the smile from ear to ear. Would have been a lot different if they said guilty. He was looking at 2 decades in prison. Meanwhile, Rocky has skedaddled, but his attorney, Joe Tacopina, still addressing the folks outside the courthouse. Let's listen in.
Swiftly.
Hey,
Yes.
Joe, speaking of evidence or lack of evidence, the fact that a gun was not presented in court to the jury, did that make a difference in this verdict?
You know, who knows what made a difference? I mean, that jury, they're able to speak to you guys if they want to. I don't know if they're going to. Both ways the gun wasn't presented, right? Our gun, the gun that Rocky actually had, the prop, or the gun that the prosecution said he had wasn't produced. So I think it's a wash, so to speak. I think the jurors had to go on the evidence that they had, right? They can't speculate. They had evidence in this case. Most of the incriminating evidence came from the words of someone who's, as I said, whose tongue is a stranger to the truth. You know, is an admitted perjurer, admitted liar. So I just don't think any jury could embrace that. And if you can't believe Terrell Efron in this case, you can't convict. It was that simple.
Can't trust the messenger. You gotta ignore the whole message. Period.
Well, if the messenger doesn't fit, you must acquit. Did that happen in this courtroom, something like that?
Absolutely.
Joe, how did you keep Rocky at ease throughout this case?
How did I keep at ease? You know, he fed off my confidence, honestly. He fed off my confidence. We talked every night. Obviously, he was heavily involved in his defense. You know, but he would follow my lead. And if I told him things are going well, he obviously didn't know this procedure, this process, but I've told him things were going well, they went well. So, you know, he was really good. He's a smart guy. You know, his only misstep was that time he uttered out, yelled in the courtroom about, you know, his personal company, which just was so irrelevant. So it was so irrelevant to the case. You know, obviously he was being defamed. People were using derogatory statements towards him. Relly called him every name in the book for, you know, homophobic names, all these things. And Rocky didn't move a muscle. But when something personal to him was being asked about, which irrelevant to the case, what his company was called, what the acronym for, well, it's an acronym for his company that had to do with his family. I'm going to leave it at that, right? And he was asked, so they didn't want that revealed nationally, publicly. It's like a private thing, the way someone doesn't want their phone number revealed. So he, after the witness had already answered, he said, "Don't say," which caused me to heel kick him in the ankle. So the second time you heard from Rocky was a yelp. So it was, "Don't say, ow." But the ow was from me, "Don't say" was from him. But it was irrelevant to this case. But again, the prosecution focused on that. They focused on Rihanna and the kids. They focused on a lemon. They focused on a dog. They focused on a donut. We focused our summation on the facts. And, I guess the jury saw it our way.
Tell us, what's this experience been like for Rihanna and ASAP and his family?
Yeah, I think that was a great bonding experience for them personally. I mean, I've known them for a while. Rihanna is an amazing woman, strong woman, and she obviously was there to support him. She'd always been in touch with me throughout the process to make sure things were going well, and privately wanted reassurance. But she was here. Wild Horse, Rocky did not want her here. I will tell you that. I think I said it to you in the beginning. He did not want her here. He wanted to shield her from this. Wild Horses couldn't keep her away. So, this you go through something like this as a family, it brings you closer. It's a bonding experience, and they're just two special people. So I can't imagine this has been anything but a life-altering experience for them.
How does it feel to get a public win after Donald Trump fired?
All right, I'll be honest, not the first celebrity I've seen walk out of that courtroom with a not guilty. It's happened before several times here on Court TV.